Ben Rodriguez stood outside the massive crystal doors of the Zephyrian royal palace, adjusting his formal Earth diplomatic uniform one last time. The blue fabric felt stiff against his skin, and the golden Earth Embassy badge on his chest seemed heavier than usual. His hands shook slightly as he held the translation device and the thick book of Zephyrian phrases that had taken him 6 months to study. This was the moment Earth had been preparing for since first contact with the Zephyrian Empire 3 years ago. Ben was not a seasoned diplomat or a brilliant scientist. He was simply a language teacher from California who happened to have a gift for learning new ways of communication. When Earth needed someone to serve as their first cultural ambassador to the Zephyrian homeworld, Ben had volunteered despite his fears. The crystal doors opened with a musical chime that resonated through the air. 2 tall Zephyrian guards stood on either side of the entrance. Their skin looked like living gemstones, shifting between pale blue and silver as they moved. Ben had learned that these color changes were part of their communication system, but he still found it amazing to watch. Ambassador Rodriguez, one of the guards, spoke in careful English. "The royal court awaits your presence." Ben nodded and followed them through corridors that seemed to be carved from a single enormous crystal. Light danced through the walls, creating rainbow patterns that moved and shifted with each step. The beauty of the palace took his breath away, but he tried to focus on remembering his training. The Zephyrian communication system was complex. They spoke with their voices, but they also used color changes in their crystalline skin to express emotions and social meanings. The wrong color at the wrong time could be as offensive as shouting in a library. Ben had practiced for hours, but he knew he was far from perfect. The throne room was vast, with a ceiling that stretched up so high it disappeared into misty light. Hundreds of Zephyrian nobles filled the space, their skin shimmering in various shades of blue, green, and silver. At the center of the room stood a throne made of pure white crystal, and upon it sat the most beautiful being Ben had ever seen. Princess Kira was tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to contain captured starlight. Her natural color was a soft lavender that shifted to pale gold around the edges when she moved. She wore a crown of living crystal that grew from her forehead like delicate branches. Her eyes were large and expressive, a deep purple color that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. King Zephin sat on a larger throne beside her, his skin a deep royal blue with threads of silver running through it like veins of precious metal. His expression was serious as he watched Ben approach. The entire court fell silent as Ben walked down the long crystal pathway toward the thrones. Ben had memorized the proper greeting ceremony. He was supposed to bow at exactly the right angle, speak the formal words of introduction, and wait for permission to approach further. But as he looked at Princess Kira, something unexpected happened. She looked nervous. Despite all her royal grace and alien beauty, Ben could see in her large purple eyes the same kind of anxiety he felt. She was meeting her first human, just as he was meeting his first Zephyrian royals. The realization made him feel less alone and more confident. When Ben reached the appropriate distance from the throne, he bowed as he had been taught. He then reached for his translation device and phrase book, intending to deliver the formal greeting that had been approved by both governments. But something went wrong with his translation device. The small screen flickered and went dark. Ben pressed the buttons frantically, but nothing happened. He looked up at Princess Kira, who was watching him with curious eyes. The entire court waited in silence. Ben made a quick decision. He had studied enough Zephyrian language to attempt a simple greeting without the device. He wanted to show respect for their culture by trying to speak their language, even if his pronunciation was imperfect. He opened his phrase book and found what he thought was a friendly, casual greeting. The book said it meant something like, "Hello, honored one," in English. Ben had practiced the words many times, though he was never sure if his human mouth could make the right sounds. Ben looked directly at Princess Kira, smiled warmly, and spoke the Zephyrian words as clearly as he could. But instead of the formal greeting he intended to give, the words that came out of his mouth were completely different. What Ben had actually said, though he did not know it at the time, was the Zephyrian equivalent of, "Hey sweetie, words that were only used between married couples or those who intended to become life partners. The casual endearment that seemed so innocent in his phrase book carried deep cultural meaning that Ben could never have understood from studying alone. The reaction was immediate and shocking. Every single Zephyrian in the throne room went completely still. Their skin colors shifted rapidly through shades of surprise, embarrassment, and confusion. Some of the older nobles turned dark red, which Ben later learned indicated anger or deep disapproval. Princess Kira herself went through the most dramatic change. Her beautiful lavender skin suddenly shifted to a bright, deep crimson color that spread from her face down through her neck and arms. The red was so intense it seemed to glow from within her crystalline skin. Her large purple eyes grew even wider, and her mouth opened slightly in shock. King Zephyr rose from his throne, his blue skin now streaked with harsh silver lines that Ben would later understand meant fury. The court nobles began making low humming sounds that created an ominous harmony throughout the vast chamber. Ben knew immediately that something had gone terribly wrong, but he had no idea what he had done. He looked back at Princess Kira, hoping for some sign of what he should do next. She was still that bright crimson color, staring at him with an expression he could not read. Then something unexpected happened. Princess Kira spoke, and her words were in perfect English with only a slight musical accent that made her voice sound like wind chimes. "Yes, darling," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the silent throne room. The words hung in the air like a struck bell. If the court had been shocked before, now they seemed ready to collapse entirely. Several of the older nobles made gasping sounds. King Zephyr's silver stripes grew so bright they hurt to look at. Ben stared at Princess Kira in confusion. He had no idea why she had called him darling in response to what he thought was a simple greeting. But as he looked at her crimson face and wide eyes, he suddenly realized something that struck him as incredibly funny. She looked just as confused and embarrassed as he felt. Despite being an alien princess from an advanced civilization, despite her royal training and natural grace, she was clearly as lost in this cultural misunderstanding as he was. They were both just two people trying their best in an impossible situation and failing spectacularly. The humor of the situation hit Ben all at once. Here he was, Earth's first cultural ambassador, accidentally saying something scandalous to an alien princess who had responded with equal confusion, while hundreds of horrified alien nobles watched in shock. It was like something from a comedy movie, except it was really happening to him. Ben started to laugh. It began as a small chuckle, but it quickly grew into genuine, heartfelt laughter. He was not laughing at Princess Kira or making fun of the situation. He was laughing with the kind of joy that comes from recognizing the beautiful absurdity of life, even in its most important moments. Princess Kira watched him laugh, her crimson skin slowly beginning to shift back toward lavender around the edges. And then, to the absolute horror of her father and the entire court, she began to laugh too. Her laughter was musical, like crystal bells ringing in harmony. It mixed with Ben's more human laughter to create a sound that had never been heard in the Zephyrian throne room before. Two completely different species, sharing a moment of genuine joy despite having no idea what they had just said to each other. The laughter echoed through the crystal chamber, bouncing off the walls and ceiling to create a symphony of mirth that seemed to fill every corner of the vast space. Ben and Princess Kira looked at each other and laughed until tears came to their eyes, united in their mutual confusion and the simple human, and apparently universal, ability to find humor in chaos. When their laughter finally died down, the throne room remained in shocked silence. King Zephyr stood frozen on his throne, his silver stripes still blazing with indignation. The court nobles had gone through every color of confusion and disapproval their species could express. But Ben and Princess Kira smiled at each other with the warmth of two people who had just shared something special, even if they had no idea what it was. The silence in the throne room stretched on for what felt like hours after Ben and Princess Kira stopped laughing. King Zephyr's silver stripes continued to blaze across his blue skin like angry lightning. The court nobles stood frozen in various shades of shock and disapproval. Ben could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching him, but he was not sure what he was supposed to do next. Finally, King Zephyr spoke in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. "Ambassador Rodriguez," he said in careful English, "you will be escorted to your quarters immediately. We must discuss this situation with the High Council." Princess Kira's skin had mostly returned to its natural lavender color, though pink patches still glowed on her cheeks. She looked at her father with concern. "Father, surely we can explain to Ambassador Rodriguez what happened." He clearly did not understand. "Enough," King Zephyr interrupted, his silver stripes flashing brighter. "We will discuss this matter privately. Guards, escort the human to the guest wing." Ben found himself surrounded by crystal-skinned guards whose expressions he could not read. As they led him away from the throne room, he caught one last glimpse of Princess Kira. She was watching him with worried purple eyes, her skin shifting between lavender and concerned blue. The guest quarters were beautiful but felt like a prison. The walls were made of clear crystal that showed gardens outside, but Ben could not find any way to open them. A Zephyrian servant brought him food that looked like glowing fruits and tasted like starlight, but Ben was too nervous to eat much. Hours passed before anyone came to see him. When the crystal door finally opened, Ben was surprised to see Princess Kira herself walk in. She had changed from her formal court robes into simpler clothing that still managed to look elegant on her tall frame. "Your Highness," Ben said, standing quickly and attempting another bow. "I am so sorry for whatever I did wrong. I truly did not mean to offend anyone." Princess Kira held up a graceful hand to stop him. "Please, just call me Kira. And you may sit. I came to explain what happened and to apologize for my father's reaction." Ben sat down on the crystal chair, which was surprisingly comfortable despite being made of what looked like solid rock. "I studied your language for months, but I clearly made a terrible mistake." "What did I actually say to you?" Kira's skin shifted to a light pink color as she explained. "In our culture, the words you spoke are used only between those who are married or who intend to become life partners. When you said those words to me in front of the entire court, it was as if you were proposing marriage." Ben's eyes grew wide. "Oh no. And when you responded I accepted your proposal," Kira finished, her pink color deepening. "At least, that is what everyone in the throne room believed they witnessed." Ben put his head in his hands. "I have ruined everything. Earth's first diplomatic mission, and I accidentally proposed to an alien princess. They will probably send me home in disgrace." But Kira surprised him by laughing again, the same musical sound that had charmed him in the throne room. "Actually, I find it quite fascinating. In human culture, do you really use such intimate words casually? Without meaning them as serious commitments?" Ben looked up at her, puzzled by her interest rather than her anger. "Yes, humans use endearments like that all the time. Friends call each other sweetie or darling without any romantic meaning. It is just a way of showing affection and friendliness." Kira's skin shifted to a bright golden color that Ben was beginning to recognize as excitement or curiosity. "How wonderful. Your species can express casual intimacy without the weight of permanent commitment. That must make forming friendships much easier." For the next hour, Kira asked Ben dozens of questions about human emotional expressions. She wanted to know about hugs, handshakes, smiles, and all the ways humans showed different types of affection. Ben found himself explaining concepts he had never thought about before. "So when humans laugh together, it creates a bond of friendship?" Kira asked, her skin now a warm golden lavender color. "Yes, exactly," Ben said. "Shared laughter is one of the strongest ways humans connect with each other. When we laugh together, we feel closer and more comfortable." Kira nodded thoughtfully. "That explains why I felt so comfortable with you after we laughed. In our culture, laughter is rare and usually private. To laugh publicly, especially in the throne room, is considered very bold." Ben learned that Zephyrians communicated emotions primarily through their color-changing skin. They had hundreds of different shades that meant different things, and the combinations could express incredibly complex ideas. But they rarely used touch or casual verbal endearments. Physical contact was formal and limited, even between close family members. "Your way seems much warmer," Kira admitted. "Sometimes our formality can feel cold, even to us." Over the following days, Ben and Kira met secretly in the palace gardens. She taught him the proper way to read Zephyrian colors, while he showed her human gestures and expressions. Ben learned that when Kira's skin turned bright gold, she was happy and excited. When it shifted to deep blue, she was thinking carefully about something. When it went pale silver, she was worried or sad. Kira was fascinated by human facial expressions. She practiced smiling in front of a crystal mirror, trying to understand how humans could communicate so much with just their faces. Ben taught her about winks, raised eyebrows, and the difference between a polite smile and a genuine one. "Your species is remarkably expressive," Kira said one afternoon as they sat beside a fountain that sang in harmony with itself. "Zephyrians would find this level of emotional openness very difficult." "But your color changes are beautiful," Ben replied. "Humans would be amazed to watch emotions flow across someone's skin like living art." Their friendship grew stronger each day, but Ben began to notice troubling signs around the palace. Zephyrian nobles would stop talking when he walked by. Guards watched him more closely. Most concerning of all, King Zephin's silver stripes seemed to grow brighter and more agitated whenever Ben appeared. Kira explained that the High Council was meeting daily to discuss the incident in the throne room. Many of the older council members believed that Ben had deliberately insulted their culture by speaking intimate words to the princess. Others thought that any species casual enough to use such language could not be trusted as allies. "They do not understand that it was simply a cultural misunderstanding," Kira said, her skin showing worried silver patches. "Some of them want to end all diplomatic relations with Earth." Ben felt terrible. "Maybe I should just go home. I do not want to cause problems between our worlds." But Kira surprised him by turning a determined golden color. "No. What happened between us proves something important. If a human and a Zephyrian can learn to understand each other so quickly, then our species can definitely be friends. We just need to show them that cultural differences can be bridges, not walls." However, their secret friendship did not remain secret for long. One afternoon, as Ben was teaching Kira how to give a proper human handshake, they were discovered by Lord Zenith, the head of the High Council. His skin immediately turned the dark red color that Ben had learned meant anger or disgust. "Princess, what is the meaning of this?" Lord Zenith demanded. "You are engaging in physical contact with the alien who has already brought shame upon our court." Kira's skin flashed through angry reds and defiant golds. "Lord Zenith, I am learning about human culture. This contact is educational, not romantic." But Lord Zenith was not convinced. "The human has corrupted your thinking, princess. First he makes inappropriate declarations in the throne room, now he teaches you to act like humans." This is exactly what the council feared. Word of their friendship spread quickly through the palace. By evening, Ben found himself summoned to appear before the full High Council the next morning. Kira warned him that several council members were planning to use their friendship as proof that humans were dangerous to Zephyrian culture. "They will say that your casual attitude toward intimacy makes you unsuitable as allies," Kira explained, her skin showing deep blue worry colors. "They believe that any species that uses love words carelessly cannot be trusted with serious commitments." Ben spent that night pacing his crystal quarters, trying to think of a way to save Earth's diplomatic mission. He had come to Zephyria to build friendship between their worlds, but instead he had created suspicion and fear. Worse, he had put Kira in a difficult position between loyalty to her people and her growing friendship with him. But as Ben watched the alien sunrise paint the crystal palace in rainbow colors, he realized something important. His mistake in the throne room had led to the most meaningful friendship of his life. If he and Kira could bridge the gap between their cultures so easily, then maybe their differences were not obstacles but opportunities. He had no idea what he would say to the High Council, but he knew he had to try. For Earth, for Zephyria, and for the friendship that had grown from a simple misunderstanding. Ben Rodriguez, language teacher from California, was about to face the greatest challenge of his life. The fate of two worlds might depend on his ability to explain why saying, "Hey sweetie," to an alien princess had actually been the beginning of something wonderful. The High Council chamber was even more intimidating than the throne room. 12 ancient Zephyrians sat in a perfect circle, their crystalline skin showing deep, serious colors that Ben had learned meant formal judgment. Their ages were difficult to guess, but the way light seemed to move slowly through their bodies suggested they had lived for many centuries. Ben stood in the center of the circle, feeling very small and very human. King Zephyr sat among the council members, his blue skin still marked with silver stripes of displeasure. Princess Kira was not allowed to attend the session, which made Ben feel even more alone. Lord Zenith, the eldest council member, spoke first. His skin was a dark purple-gray color that reminded Ben of storm clouds. Ambassador Rodriguez, you stand before this council charged with cultural violation and inappropriate conduct toward Princess Kira. How do you answer these charges? Ben had practiced his speech all night, but now that he faced these ancient beings, his prepared words seemed inadequate. He decided to speak from his heart instead of his notes. Honored council members, Ben began, I admit that I made a serious mistake in the throne room. I used words I did not understand, and I caused confusion and embarrassment. But I ask you to consider what happened after that mistake. The council members remained silent, their skin colors unchanged. Ben took this as permission to continue. When Princess Kira and I laughed together, something beautiful happened. Two completely different beings found common ground in the simple act of sharing humor. That moment taught me something important about both our species. Lord Zenith's gray color darkened. You believe that making our princess laugh inappropriately was beneficial? I believe it showed that our differences are not barriers, Ben replied. They are opportunities to learn and grow together. Ben walked slowly around the circle as he spoke, making eye contact with each council member. In the days since that incident, Princess Kira has taught me about Zephyrian color communication. She has shown me the beauty and complexity of your emotional expression. In return, I have shared human ways of showing friendship and affection. Another council member, her skin a cold blue color, spoke up. You have taught our princess to behave like a human. This is exactly what we feared would happen. No, Ben said firmly. I have not changed Princess Kira. I have simply shown her new ways to express the kindness and curiosity that were already part of her nature. She is still completely Zephyrian. She has just learned additional ways to connect with others. Ben paused in front of King Zephyr, whose silver stripes seemed slightly less intense than before. Your Majesty, you are worried that human casual intimacy makes us unreliable partners. But I ask you to consider the opposite possibility. What if our ability to express affection easily actually makes us more trustworthy? The chamber fell silent except for the soft musical hum that crystal walls made when they vibrated with sound. Ben knew this was his crucial moment. Humans use words like sweetie and darling casually because we form emotional bonds quickly and easily, Ben explained. This does not make our commitments meaningless. It makes them natural and strong. When a human truly commits to something important, that commitment is backed by our ability to care deeply about others. Lord Zenith leaned forward, his storm cloud color shifting slightly. Explain this further. Ben felt his confidence growing. Think about what happened between Princess Kira and me. I made an embarrassing mistake, but instead of becoming enemies, we became friends. Why? Because humans are naturally curious about other cultures, and we adapt quickly to new situations. These are not weaknesses. They are strengths that make us good allies. He turned to address the full council. You are concerned that humans cannot be trusted with serious commitments because we use intimate language casually. But consider this, every human commitment is made by someone who naturally cares about others and works hard to understand them. Our casual affection teaches us how to form deeper bonds when they truly matter. Another council member, her skin showing thoughtful green colors, asked, "What do you propose, Ambassador?" This was the moment Ben had been preparing for. "I propose that our cultural differences become the foundation of our alliance, not an obstacle to it. Humans can teach Zephyrians about emotional flexibility and quick adaptation. Zephyrians can teach humans about deep contemplation and the beauty of formal communication. Together, we can create something neither species could achieve alone." The crystal doors of the chamber suddenly opened with their musical chime. Princess Kira walked in, her skin showing the determined golden color Ben had learned to recognize. Behind her walked several younger Zephyrian nobles, their skins showing various shades of curiosity and support. "Father," Kira said, addressing King Zephyr directly. "I request permission to address the council." King Zephyr's silver stripes flashed with surprise and concern. "Daughter, this is not appropriate. The council is in formal session." But Lord Zenith held up a graceful hand. "Let the princess speak. Her perspective may be valuable." Kira moved to stand beside Ben in the center of the circle. Her presence gave him courage, but he worried that she was risking her own position to support him. "Honored Council," Kira began, her voice clear and strong. "Ambassador Rodriguez has shown me something wonderful about his species. Humans have the ability to turn mistakes into bridges." When he spoke inappropriately in the throne room, he could have been embarrassed into silence. Instead, he used that mistake to begin learning about our culture. Her skin shifted to warm golden tones as she spoke. "In our conversations, I have seen how humans approach the unknown. They are not afraid of making mistakes because they see errors as opportunities to understand better. This is a quality our alliance with Earth needs." One of the older council members spoke up. "Princess, you have been influenced by human thinking. How can we trust your judgment?" Kira's response surprised everyone. "You can trust my judgment because it has been expanded, not replaced. I am still Zephyrian in every way. But now I also understand human emotional expression. I can see how their quick bonding and casual affection actually makes them more loyal friends, not less." Ben felt a surge of gratitude for Kira's support. She was risking her relationship with the council to defend him and his species. He realized this was exactly the kind of loyalty and commitment that humans were capable of inspiring. "Your Highness speaks wisely," Ben said. "But let me propose something concrete to demonstrate human reliability." The council members turned their attention back to him, their skin colors showing various shades of interest and skepticism. "I propose a cultural exchange program," Ben announced. "Not just for diplomats, but for ordinary citizens of both our worlds. Let Zephyrian young people visit Earth to learn about human emotional expression. Let human students come here to study your color communication and formal wisdom traditions." Ben's voice grew stronger as his idea developed. "Let our species learn from each other in small, safe ways before we make any major political commitments. If humans prove unreliable or harmful to Zephyrian culture, the program can be ended. If it succeeds, we will have built the foundation for a true alliance." Lord Zenith's skin shifted through several thoughtful colors. "This is an interesting proposal. But who would supervise such a program? Who could be trusted to guide both species through this cultural learning?" Princess Kira's skin flashed bright gold as she spoke. "Ambassador Rodriguez could establish the first program here on Zephyria. He has already proven his ability to learn our ways while teaching his own. And I could serve as his Zephyrian counterpart, helping humans understand our culture." The chamber fell silent as the council members considered this proposal. Ben watched their skin colors shift through various shades of contemplation, concern, and gradual interest. King Zephyr's silver stripes had almost disappeared, replaced by the deep blue color that meant serious thought. Finally, Lord Zenith spoke. "Ambassador Rodriguez, your proposal has merit. But it depends entirely on your personal commitment to respecting Zephyrian culture while sharing your own. Are you prepared to make this commitment?" Ben looked around the circle of ancient, wise faces. These beings had lived for centuries, watching their civilization grow and develop. They were trusting him, a simple language teacher from Earth, with the future relationship between their worlds. Honored Council, Ben said, his voice steady with conviction, I make this commitment not just as Earth's representative, but as someone who has experienced the joy of true friendship across species boundaries. Princess Kira and I have proven that humans and Zephyrians can understand each other. Now let us prove that our entire civilizations can do the same. The council members exchanged glances, their skin colors communicating in ways too complex for Ben to follow. Finally, King Zephyr stood up, his blue skin now showing threads of warm silver instead of angry stripes. The council accepts your proposal, Ambassador Rodriguez, the king announced. You will establish a cultural exchange program here on Zephyria, working with Princess Kira to ensure both species are properly represented. We will begin with small groups and expand based on the success of your efforts. Ben felt relief wash over him like a warm wave. He had not only avoided ruining Earth's diplomatic mission, he had actually expanded it into something larger and more meaningful. Princess Kira's skin was now a brilliant gold color that seemed to light up the entire chamber. She looked at Ben with pride and friendship that needed no translation between species. Thank you, honored council, Ben said, bowing deeply. I promise that this program will honor both human adaptability and Zephyrian wisdom. Our species will learn from each other and grow stronger together. As the council session ended and the members began to file out of the chamber, Lord Zenith approached Ben personally. His storm cloud color had shifted to a much warmer gray-blue shade. Ambassador, the ancient Zephyrian said quietly, you have taught this old council something important. Perhaps the ability to laugh together truly is the beginning of all friendship. Ben smiled, remembering that first moment of shared laughter with Princess Kira. Sometimes the best diplomacy happens when we stop trying to be perfect and start trying to understand each other. 6 months later, Ben stood in the same crystal throne room where his diplomatic career had nearly ended before it began. But now the chamber was filled with young humans and Zephyrians working together, learning each other's languages and customs. The sound of mixed laughter and musical Zephyrian speech filled the air. Princess Kira approached him, her skin showing the warm golden color that had become her normal shade when working with the exchange program. Ben, she said, using his first name as humans did with friends, the first group of Zephyrian students is ready to visit Earth next month. Ben grinned, still amazed at how a simple misunderstanding had led to such wonderful results. I suppose I should teach them that saying, hey sweetie, to strangers might cause some confusion there too. Kira laughed, the musical sound that had started their friendship. Yes, but now we know that confusion can be the beginning of something beautiful. As Ben watched human and Zephyrian young people learning from each other, he realized that his greatest diplomatic success had come not from avoiding mistakes, but from embracing them. Sometimes the best way to build bridges between worlds was to admit that you had no idea what you were doing and ask for help. The alliance between Earth and Zephyria grew strong and lasted for generations, built on the foundation of one embarrassing mistake and the laughter that followed. And in every cultural exchange office in both civilizations, there hung a simple sign that read, understanding begins with, I do not know, but I want to learn.